We're about to kick off a couple of months of some pretty spectacular fights, and UFC 302 is in the front of that line. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC 302 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. But before I do, let's look at 2024 as a whole. We tend to crush pay-per-views. I don't know why, but pay-per-views tend to be very profitable for us. In this year, in 2024, my safety parlay is 5-2. And that equates to a 26.48% ROI. It has made quite a bit of money in 2024 on pay-per-view specifically. If we look at all the bets, we're up 7.29 units of net profit specifically on pay-per-views, and that ROI is 12%. Pay-per-views have been very good to us. If you want to unlock all the picks, the bets, and everything else we have done, and that we will do for UFC 302 for this pay-per-view, just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. It is only $10 for an entire month. Here's a little bit closer look of that pay-per-view safety parlay. I am 10-2 in the last 8 pay-per-views. Almost 6 units of net profit. Almost a 78% event win streak and a lifetime ROI of 25%. It does have its ups, it does have its downs, but pay-per-view specifically, the safety parlay does deliver. When you become a premium member, you'll unlock this, but you will also get tools. One of those tools is the line movement tracker. This is going to give you the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every fighter on every card. You're going to get the detailed data, metrics, and analytics. This is 38 columns of information that you can use to find your spots. You can very quickly see somebody's takedown percentage versus the other opponent's takedown defense. You can very quickly see how many strikes one person absorbs and how many strikes the other person lands. All of the biometrics, all of the data, all the information is right there, just a couple of clicks away. And you're also going to get the best DraftKings ownership projections in the game. These are the ownership numbers from the last event, from UFC Vegas 92. We had the best on planet Earth. We beat out the Roto Grinders, the Awesomos. We beat out the massive fantasy companies, and we're putting out the best DraftKings ownership projections on Earth. They are preloaded into the DraftKings optimizer, and every single thing that I just mentioned is only $10 for an entire month. An entire month's worth of events, only $10 to unlock everything we have here. And we're about to kick off an incredible run of some pretty incredible fights. And finally, it's more than just me. It's more than Jacob. We have Artem breaking down PFL, Bellator, all the regional shows. I'm pretty sure he just picked, if not a perfect Bellator card, almost a perfect Bellator card. You're also going to get access to the artificial intelligence. Our Pick GPT is an artificial intelligence picking fights based solely off of historical data. It is like hundreds of different neural net. I'm getting better at describing what the hell this is. I didn't design it. I am not the nuclear physicist who did. It's hundreds of different, it's either neuro or neural. Let's say neural. Neural net artificial intelligence engines that are picking fights. So it's going to do one based solely off of biometrics. Then it's going to do it based solely off of striking stats, then grappling stats. And then the neural net picks all of the data. I don't know how the hell he does it. It's picking fights off of data, and it's doing it incredibly well. Every single freaking thing that I just mentioned and all the things I didn't mention is one package, $10 a month. No weird fantasy for 20, bets for 20, but put it together. I'll give it to you for 30. $10, every single thing we do. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top and join the well over 3,000 premium members we have today. Let's go ahead and break down this card. UFC 302 is a pretty good card. It's a little top heavy, right? The main card's better than the undercard, but there are some very good matchups, and this is going to be an exciting fight. And they're out of Vegas. As much as we love Vegas and pay-per-views, I do like pay-per-views not in Vegas. They just have a different feel about them. You're going to get wild cards with some of the judges, although this is in Jersey, and Jersey's pretty buttoned up. But it just has a different feel, a different energy to be in a different arena with local fans and some local guys. So let's go ahead and break down this card. Opening up the UFC 302 fight card, we have, we're going to call him Nyam. I am not going to try to pronounce this absurd name, do it wrong, like my tongue is 3 sizes too big for my mouth, and then have people clip it and be like, look at this idiot and his speech impediment. I'm not trying to pronounce this guy's name. That is not going to happen. If you know how to pronounce it, then write it out phonetically in the comments, because we're calling him Nyam. And he's taking on Andre Lima. Nyam Nam doesn't, that also, like that also sounds like I'm just fat or have a speech impediment. I can't avoid it. Nam is a powerful striker. He's got a wide base. He will bomb punches. He uses very long step-in jabs to close the distance, and then he will swing wild once that distance is gone. He's got no problem with a dirty pocket fight, but he can be hit, and he doesn't have the best striking defense. He is always moving forward. He's always doing something. He's undefeated with 7 stoppages, but dig into that record a little bit because I would still say he's relatively untested. He's taking on Andre Lima. This guy's a solid striker who invests in the body early. He's got solid technique and he uses it really well. He throws combinations. He's not lazy with anything and he will mix up his strikes. He is essentially a pure striker though with solid defense, meaning he's not really looking to get things on the ground. He's got solid takedown defense. He's got good submission defense and a good get-up game if it gets there, but he's typically trying to keep these fights on their feet. He has 2 takedowns in the UFC, but again, that's not his plan. He'll mix one in, but for the most part, he's trying to keep these things standing. He is coming off that win over Igor Severino, where he was a step behind. I thought he was losing that fight, and then Igor decided to take a bite out of him. So Andre Lima won by disqualification because his opponent is a cannibal. This is a new fight to the card. They just added this. Nyam is stepping up on short notice, so we don't have odds yet for this fight. But if I was going to cap it, if I'm Angie Sportsbook, and they say, hey, Ange, what are the odds going to be for this fight? How are we going to steal money from the people? Because we're a sportsbook and we're shady pieces. What are the odds? I would say I think Lima should be minus 150, a slight favorite. We'll see. We don't have You never know what some of these things are going to open as, but I do think Lima should be the slight favorite here. He should be the cleaner fighter, the more technical fighter. Nyam's pressure might be an issue, but that dude gets hit. He gets hit a ton. And even if Andre is backing up, he could potentially land clean, hit Nyam, make some stuff happen. So the pick is going to be Lima here. It is always hard to trust 2 relatively untested guys this early in their career. I mean, Andre Lima was losing his last fight. And then he got bit. So it's a win, but I thought he looked a step behind. And Nyam is just bombing away on a bunch of regional guys. So this is a weird fight to open up a pay-per-view card in New Jersey. Like, I don't know how this worked its way onto that card, but either way, when the odds drop, maybe we'll get lucky and maybe Nyam will be a minus 300 favorite and we can get some real good dog money on Andre Lima. Certainly the fight order is going to change here. Niko Price will not be the second fight of the night with Alex Morono. This might be the featured prelim or something close to that. But for now, this is where they have it, the second fight of the night. We got Niko Price taking on Alex Morono. I've trained with Niko Price, by the way. I lived in Cape Coral, Florida for a little while. That's where he was. And I went to the same jiu-jitsu gym. And this was well before the UFC. He might have been a teenager at that point. No, he's 34 now. I forget how old he was, but he was a young dude. And we trained together for a little while. Only grappling, though. And again, he wasn't anybody. And that was not an insult. He just didn't make this career yet. He was starting out, wanted to do this stuff, was putting things together. He was always super tough. He was a gritty dude, had very good jiu-jitsu. Nothing that matters now. This was so long ago. And I'm big, much larger. We got Niko Price taking on Alex Morono. And Niko is a wildly fun guy to watch. He has a willingness to put himself in the harm's way for entertainment's sake. He's got solid striking, very good submissions. He actually has 2 knockouts off of his back, which will forever be a highlight reel. He's a blast to watch. He can beat anybody on any given day just with his sheer determination, his wildness, his willingness to move forward. But he'd also lose to anybody on any day because of his willingness to move forward and getting to a firefight. His chin doesn't always support that fighting style, but again, he is here for the fans, and he puts on a show while remaining dangerous. He is coming off that knockout loss to Robbie Lawler in Robbie's retirement fight. I was there in real life for that. I got choked up. I have never seen a happier crowd in my life. Robbie Lawler knocked out Niko Price, and every single person in that arena went nuts. Went nuts. I have never heard a pop like that before. It was insane. So I'm honestly thankful to Niko Price for giving us all that moment. He was on the wrong side of it, but that moment was absolutely incredible. He's taking on Alex Morono. Lots of ranting in this video. My bad, guys. Taking on Alex Morono. This guy's a well-rounded guy. He's got effective striking, incredibly underappreciated grappling. He is a very good high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner. He can get a bit wild, and he has that awkward striking style, which does keep people out of their rhythm. He is a high-level BJJ black belt who doesn't usually use his wrestling, or certainly not as often as you would like him to. He does, however, do a nice job working in takedowns when he needs to, or if he's in trouble. It's not his plan A, but it's certainly there as a plan B. He's coming off that bounce-back win over Court McGee, where he did look comfortable. He did have some power and some speed, but he really couldn't finish what was a very close fight. I mentioned while talking about Niko, he can win any fight or lose any fight. He has power. He has no regard for what comes back his way. Morono is the better fighter. He just is the better fighter. But we have seen Morono chin before. And if you knew for a fact Alex Morono would use his far superior jiu-jitsu in this fight, then he's a sure thing. But you never know if he is going to grapple, if he's not going to grapple. And he does tend to keep fights closer than they should be, even when he's the far better, or in his last fight, the much younger fighter. Morono's going to be the pick. I'm not loving these almost 3-1 odds. Let's see what happens. We are going to watch the line movement tracker, and if this tightens a little bit, then it might make a little more sense. But 3-1 odds here, I get it. Niko's a finishable guy, but he does have power. He will come forward, and look what Ponzinibbio did to Alex Morono. Niko Price could do the exact same thing, even just charging forward, bombing away. Then we have a sneaky good fight. This is a phenomenal fight. I am very happy this fight is on the card. This is literally an unbelievable fight. Great matchmaking here, and I'm looking forward to it. We have two very high-level kickboxers that are going to fight in a cage. And it's probably a kickboxing match. We got Roman Kopylov taking on Cesar Almeida. And Roman Kopylov is a very good kickboxer. He had a professional kickboxing background before he moved over to MMA. He picks his shots well before settling in and weaving together some nice combinations. He is only 4-3 in the UFC, but he is essentially not only beaten, but knocked out every single person who can't take him down. He has an 87% takedown defense. I don't think it's going to matter in this fight, but he is coming off of his first loss in a little while, and that was to Anthony Hernandez, who weathered an early storm and was able to get the takedowns. He's taking on Cesar Almeida. This guy is also a professional kickboxer that moved over to MMA. He has had success at the highest levels, and I compared him to Alex Pereira last time he fought, just as far as the success was concerned before moving to MMA. And in fact, he actually has fought Alex Pereira 3 times. He beat him once, he lost to him twice, but he did beat him once. He does everything that you would expect a high-level kickboxer to do. He's got clean combinations, big power. He puts in some good work. He's a very dangerous guy every second that a fight remains standing. His takedown defense in the middle of the cage is basically non-existent, but he can defend well against the cage. If he is taken down, he does an okay job getting back up. He'll scoot his way to the cage and then use the cage to shimmy. This was a shimmy. This was not a sperm. I know that looked like a sperm. No, that was a shimmy with your back against the cage. Overall, Cesar Almeida is very dangerous. He is good. He is still working on his ground game, and he is coming off that knockout win over Dylan Budka. This is a great fight. This is going to be a blast to watch. 2 high-level kickboxers stepping into a cage with 4-ounce gloves. And I'm pretty sure credential-wise, just as far as accomplishments are concerned, in kickboxing, that Cesar's the better kickboxer. But this is mixed martial arts. The question now becomes, will they fight an MMA fight, or will this just be a kickboxing match with little gloves? Roman is without a doubt the more well-rounded mixed martial artist. He has a couple of takedowns in the UFC, including takedowns against Division III All-American Punahil Soriano. And I actually want to pick Cesar here. When I saw this, I was like, boom, Cesar Almeida. This dude is good. He's definitely the more dangerous of the two, in my opinion. Roman gets hit more than you would like him to, but I just cannot ignore that this is a mixed martial arts fight. And Roman might sneak in a takedown or two, especially after seeing that Cesar can be taken down in the middle of a cage with basically no effort. So Roman is going to be the pick. Super close fight. 2 high-level kickboxers. I am very excited to see what direction this fight goes. Then we got Phil Rowe taking on Jake Matthews. I'm about to say a couple mean things here, so just strap in. But we got Philip Rowe. This guy is a very good fighter. His fight IQ, whole different thing. Whole different thing. Skill-wise, he is very good. He's long. He's got high volume, good accurate striking. He does a good job using that length and his range. Ground game is fantastic. He's got very good jiu-jitsu, but his wrestling needs a lot of work. Despite managing that range well, he can still be a little bit hittable. He does have a negative striking differential. He's coming off that frustrating loss to Neil Magny, where he was winning the striking exchanges and then decided to just grapple for no reason whatsoever. He lost that fight. He deserves to lose that fight. You make stupid decisions. You get the outcomes that you deserve. Sorry, I don't know why you were grappling in a fight that you were winning the striking exchanges. Why were you grappling in that fight? You deserve to lose. Taking on Jake Matthews. This guy's a well-rounded guy. He's got solid wrestling, very good grappling, and nice variety of strikes. He works angles well. He has no problem mixing up body shots and headshots. He's averaging almost 2 takedowns per fight. He has a solid striking differential of 3-2. He's got very real power in his hands. He is coming off that decision loss to Michael Morales, where he only attempted 1 single takedown. Again, poor fight IQ on both sides of this fight. And this is tough because I think Phil is the better fighter here. He certainly is the better striker, but his fight IQ is extra chromosome levels of dumb. It's insane what he does. The clinching, the trying to take down Neil Magny in a fight where you are winning the striking exchanges, it makes no sense. It's unforgivable. It makes absolutely no sense. Can you trust him here? I don't know. Can we trust him to use his range, his footwork, and piece up Jake? I don't know. I have no clue. You couldn't trust him to continue winning striking exchanges in his last fight. I don't know what we can trust here. Jake certainly does have one punch power. He certainly has wrestling, but he's not the better fighter. I'm going to pick the better fighter here in Phil Rowe. I hate it. I don't know if I can trust the decision making. I just hope that he's not like a cheese pocket about it and stays there on the outside, lights up Jake Matthews' face. He should be able to do that. He should be able to work the range. He should be able to piece him up. Should be able to make Jake a little desperate, get tagged up a little bit, be a little slow. The shots will be behind. Phil Rowe should win this fight. I'm going to pick him to win this fight. But do me a favor. Listen to the words. Did you hear the lack of confidence in him? I picked him to win, but did you hear the lack of confidence? Inevitably, we have a breakdown like this where I'm like, I'm going to pick this person, but I don't trust him. I'm not betting on him, blah, blah, blah. And inevitably, dear Angelo, I lost my home and am living in my car because I put my $38 of life savings on the fighter you said would win. It's like, on the fighter I said would win. Did you not hear me railroad? Are you not premium? Because if you're premium, not only do you see every fighter that we're picking to win, you see our confidence level in that fighter and our round line lead. Next to Phil Rowe, spoiler, it says very low. It says very low. Don't bet on Phil Rowe. And if you do, don't come at me if he loses. I do think he wins this fight. I do think he's the better fighter. Then we have Grant Dawson. Chinny Grant Dawson taking on Joe Solecki. This actually could be a fun fight, or this could just be wet blankets on top of each other. But this is grappler versus grappler. Different styles of grappling, but this is grappler versus grappler. We got Grant Dawson, grappler. He averages almost 4 takedowns per fight. He's got a great ground game, absolutely relentless pressure. He's got good technical striking, but his clear advantage in almost every single fight is his wrestling and his grappling. His pressure, his willingness to just be a crotch sniffer has afforded him quite a bit of success in the UFC. He is, however, coming off the loss to Bobby Green, where a half a jab put him down. He's taking on Joseph Solecki. Joe Solecki is a very good grappler in his own right. He leans heavily on his wrestling and his takedowns. He's very slick on the ground, and he really makes things happen with pressure and transitions. He's also got solid hands with clean boxing, and it's not just there to set up takedowns. He will hang out and he will strike. He will, however, lose to the more technical strikers, but he will hang out and he will strike. He's coming off that loss to Jakar Close, where he had a beautiful takedown. He had a nice armbar, and then he was just Rampage Jackson. He was picked up, slammed down, his head bounced off, and he got knocked out. I mean, that just is what it is at that point. It's hard to fault Joe for that. He had a beautiful takedown, was working the submission, and he just got picked up and slammed. Like, that just is what it is. Grant Dawson's sitting at almost 3-1 favorite here. And as much as I want to, he's got no chin. He got knocked out by a sneeze in his last fight. 3-1 kind of makes sense here. On paper, they're exactly the same fight. Like, on paper, these are the same fighter. Joe probably has the better BJJ. Grant has the more aggressive wrestling, but the wrestling is the key here. That's what will dictate where this fight goes. I think Grant gets the takedowns. And while Joe probably has the better BJJ, is it good enough to submit Grant Dawson off his back? No, I don't think it is. So we got Grant Dawson, who will come forward, have no problem being boring, no problem slamming his face into somebody's cup, and he's going to get the takedowns. He's going to get the control time. He's going to win a boring 15-minute decision, but he will get back on track. And he does set a nice pace. This could be fun. I might be wrong in the 15 minutes of boring. This could be a fun fight. Like Grant Dawson, Joe Solecki could be in an awesome grappling match with a ton of scrambles. And I love that. Obviously, been grappling for 25 years, whatever the hell it is. I love that. I would love to watch some wild scrambles make it happen. I mean, Joe Rogan loves that crap as well. He's annoying about it. Like, he's like just the noises, that guy. Ooh, did you see that? But it could be fun like that, or it could be, like, all right, let's get on with it. We get it. Either way, I'm going to pick Grant Dawson. I think the wrestling is going to be the difference here. The takedowns, the control. Joe Solecki, I don't think his jiu-jitsu will be good enough to submit Grant Dawson, and that's the only way I see him winning this fight. Unless he lands a third of a jab, then Grant Dawson's out. He's done. And frankly, if I am Joe Solecki's corner, it's like, listen, he's going to shoot immediately. I want you to plant your feet and just bomb. See if you can connect on the first few exchanges, and he might be nervous. Grant Dawson, I mean, that was a bad knockout, and it wasn't a beautiful, clean punch. He had zero success leading up to it. It was like basically the first punch thrown, and it's been a long time since that fight. So I don't know where Grant Dawson's psyche is. I don't know if he's like no confidence. He's worried for his own chin. If he's going to shoot immediately, or if you don't know. I mean, he's been fighting at a high level for a while. He's 20-2. He's been very successful. So I can't imagine he's crumbling mentally, but it is always interesting to see what happens to these people that are knocked out, what happens to their next fight. And that was an important knockout in his career, right? First main event, was on a nice win streak, just beat a bunch of prospects. Like Grant Dawson was getting closer and closer to a title fight. So that knocked him down a few rungs. And that's either going to be a great thing, or, he might spiral. We'll see what happens. I do think he wins this fight, though. Then we got Mickey Gall returning to the UFC after 2 years away to take on Bassil Hafez. I'm almost positive, and you will correct me if I'm wrong, that Mickey was cut. Lost a couple of fights, 7-5 in his career, basically 6-5 in the UFC. They cut him, right? Like, listen, go get some wins elsewhere, and maybe you can come back. I don't know if... Well, first, tell me if he was cut. I'm 99% sure he was cut. Second, I don't know if this was like, okay, you've been gone, you can come back now, because he had no fights. There were no fights in that 2-year span. I think this was short notice-ish, favor-ish. You're in Jersey, you could probably sell some tickets, or maybe he's in Pennsylvania, but he's right there. You could probably sell some tickets, make it happen. I do like Mickey Gall, though, and I'll tell you why. He's a pretty good grappler. He's got good submissions from both top and off of his back. And if you watch him, he seems a little raw and he feels raw. And that's because he basically grew up in the UFC. He was brought into the UFC in 2016. It was his second pro fight ever. He was brought in to lose to CM Punk. That's why they brought him in. And then he beat CM Punk. Then he beat Sage Northcutt. And if you've been watching UFC pre-COVID, you knew Sage Northcutt was one of those very hyped prospects. The UFC was all about him. He's getting his own 15-minute hype. Like, the UFC loved him, and they were pushing him. So now Mickey Gall came in and beat their WWE superstar. Then he beat their young, who they thought was going to be a superstar. And then all of a sudden, they pushed him a little too fast. He started fighting people a little too good. And the reality was he was just kind of a wrestler that they brought in his second fight ever. And now he's in the biggest promotion on the planet, beat 2 people that the UFC didn't want him to beat. And they're like, oh, maybe he's very good. And he just never had the normal career. He never had the normal opportunity to fight on the regional scene and work his way up. He was just immediately thrown into the fire, into the biggest promotion on the planet, and had to get better and learn there. And that's a tough task when you're just fighting high-level people the entirety of your career. So Mickey Gall didn't have a full evolution, as most people did, but he's a good fighter with good grappling, decent striking, interesting movement, but he can wrestle, he can grapple, and he's making his UFC return after 2 years away. He's taking on Bassil Hafez, not another favor. They have not given Mickey Gall many favors because Bassil Hafez is a heavy-handed guy. He is also a grappler, but when he strikes, it's loose, it's powerful. And even though you'll see that check hook KO highlight, when you do a little bit of research and you Google, you watch the tape, he's not a striker. You'll see that knockout, and it's impressive. But he's not a striker. He's a very tough grappler who will shoot blast doubles. He will look to maintain position. He will blast elbows on top of you when he gets there. He's a high-paced guy both on the feet and on the ground. His cardio can fade later in fights, but he's still going to work. He's just going to do so at a little bit of a lesser pace. He's coming off that short notice loss to Jack Della Maddalena where he had 3 takedowns, but he was ultimately outstruck. I don't know what Mickey's been doing with his 2 years away. I mentioned he didn't fight, so there's no fights there, but he may have evolved. He may have been grinding. He may have been absolutely killing it in the gym, just improving every second of the day. And I am a Mickey Gall supporter. I like Mickey Gall as a fighter. He has raw talent. He has the wrestling. He hasn't seemed to just put it together at a high level. He's beaten people before, right? He's 7-5. He has 6 wins in the UFC. So I don't know if he's losing because he was fighting the better people in the division or if it's just, he struggles to put things together. It's hard to tell. I do like Mickey Gall. I'll be rooting for him here, but Bassil showed us what he can do. He did it on short notice against a top guy in the division. I imagine this is going to be more of the same. Bassil should win here. He is going to be the pick. Pretty confident in that, and I'm basing that essentially solely off of what he did to Jack Della Maddalena on short notice. And I think he can do a little bit more of that here. Then we have Ailin Perez taking on Joselyne Edwards. All of a sudden, Ailin Perez has a couple of wins, like making stuff happen. Isn't the person who showed up just twerking and then got embarrassingly finished in that fight shortly after. She's got a couple of wins. She's grinding. She's coming forward. She's making stuff happen. And I mentioned Ailin Perez basically started her career as an Instagram twerker. Twerked every opportunity she got. But she is starting to earn a little bit of respect because she has now turned into a forward pressure wrestler. She's mostly a grappler, but when she's striking, she's got a long jab. She uses it to plot forward. She'll walk you down. She uses her size, her strength, and she loves to bully people to the ground with trips and drags. Once it hits the ground, she can be a bit too aggressive. She'll literally fall off the top of you because she's chasing something and never settled in. But the pressure is unrelenting. She's coming off that win over Lucy Pudilova where she had 2 takedowns in almost 9 minutes of control time. She's got a tall task ahead of her, though, because she has the always tough Joselyne Edwards. Joselyne's a good kickboxer who uses range really well. She's got a nice variety of strikes, but she'll prefer to kick. She'll kick more often than she punches. If you can get inside, if you can make it a dirty fight, you can have some success, but getting inside the range is not the easiest thing to do. The knock on Joselyne has been her takedown defense, but if you watched her last fight, it has looked improved. On paper, it was a loss to Nora Cornolle. If you're just looking at Tapology and going from there, it was a loss. But that was a bad decision. I think Joselyne won that fight. Her offensive and defensive wrestling looked very improved. Joselyne is being grossly underrated in this fight. And I will likely be placing a plus 3.5 bet on her in this fight. I will also hammer the over 2.5 rounds. I do think Ailin is going to win this fight. I think it's the nonstop forward wrestler pressing. I said forward wrestle pressuring. Forward pressure wrestling is what I meant to say. And I do think that's going to be the difference here. We're not in Vegas anymore. New Jersey likes wrestlers. New Jersey has the old school mentality of MMA where it's like, well, you got some takedowns, you got some control, you did something, you took that person down, you held them there. That counts. So I do think Ailin Perez will win because of that. But this feels very similar. Remember last week when I said Emily Ducote, Vanessa Demopoulos, Emily should not be a 3-1 favorite. Vanessa's just tough and can make these fights close. This feels the same. I don't think Ailin Perez should be as big of a favorite as she is. I think Joselyne Edwards has a knack for making fights close. I think Joselyne Edwards can have some success, certainly win a single round, and that's what that plus 3.5 bet is. Plus 3.5 bet is you're buying points on the judge's scorecard. Think about it's basically a point spread, like in a regular sport. And the way the math works with the points that you're buying on the judge's scorecard is Joselyne Edwards just needs to win one single round. She could either win the fight outright, she could finish, She could win a unanimous decision. She could win a split decision. She can lose a split decision, or she could lose a 29-28 across the board, and the bet pays. We don't have these bets yet, right? The props haven't dropped, and I imagine the second it drops, it's going to take off. So if you're a premium member, go to your account page and link your Discord, so when I do place that bet, you will be alerted on your phone instantly. If you like it, great. And then you can place it and follow. If you don't, that's fine too, but at least you didn't miss out on line movement. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. If you're not a member already, it's freaking $10. I cannot emphasize enough how low of a price that is and how insane of a value it is. If you can find a premium offering in this space that has what we have, I will give you mine for free. If you can find better value that has what we have and is charging the same or close to it, let me know. I'll give you premium for free, because it doesn't exist. There's people charging $150 for a couple of bets. There's people charging $15 for just the spreadsheet. That's included in ours for $10. DraftKings ownership projections, go to an Awesemo, go to a Roto Grinders, and look at how much they're going to charge you. Anywhere from $60 a sport to $100-something a sport. It is the best value in this space. So please, sign up. It's a great way to support us, and in return, we give you an incredible offering. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. And if you want $50, we will send you $50. This is affiliate marketing. It's very straightforward. If you go to WeWantPicks.com/bets, you're going to see links to different sportsbook partners. If you use a link and you sign up and you make an account, I will get paid. And then I'm going to take $50 of that and I'm going to give it right back to you. You get paid, we get paid, everybody does well. And that's the beauty of this space, and that's how affiliate marketing works. But instead of keeping all of it and being greedy, we're sharing it with you. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. We're happy to send you $50. We're also happy to showcase your small business, unbox whatever you send us. If you don't know, for the pay-per-views, UFC 302, UFC 301, all the pay-per-views, I can just keep counting. We open mail. People send us mail and we open it. Sometimes it's something funny, like somebody sent me some hot sauce that destroyed my guts. Sometimes it's a nice letter. We've read a few letters. This is who I am. This is my betting journey. This is what's worked well. This is what hasn't, etc. We've also gotten stuff from small businesses. Hey, I'm a small business. I love your show. Here's a canopy or a hammock. We opened it. I got my fat ass in there. We rocked around. So I'm happy to showcase your small business or open your mail or whatever. This is the address. We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406 in Prosper, Texas, 75078. We'll open it in the vlog and give you the shout out. And just a quick reminder, I sell premium, right? I pitch premium, $10 a month, blah, 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 blah. But 90% of what we do is just here on YouTube for free. One of those things is Jacob's underdog lock of the week. Every week, Jacob picks an underdog. He calls it the lock of the week. It's an underdog. These are people that are supposed to lose. That's why they're underdogs. He is quietly racking it up. The dude has hit 7 of the last 9. It costs literally nothing. He's up 32 units all time. He's up 8.36 units this year, only picking one underdog a week. It's hitting at a 53% accuracy. The ROI is 30%. What this dude is quietly doing for free on YouTube is insane. Show the love, show the support, like, subscribe, hit the little bell. I hate saying that. I don't mind saying like, subscribe. Saying hit the bell just feels turdy. I don't know why. I mean, if you could hit it, that'd be fantastic. But either way, show Jacob some love. Subscribe to the channel, do those things. This costs nothing. And the edits that this guy puts together are quite literally the best edits in this space. If you haven't seen a Lock of the Week video, go watch one. Even just for the entertainment value of the edit and the highlight that he puts together. So shout out to Jakey Boy for making these underdogs look like they should have been favorites. Although Ariane Carlozzi quit in that fight. Opening up the UFC 302 main card, we've got Kevin Holland taking on Michal Oleksiejczuk. That's not it. Kevin Holland is stepping up on short notice. That guy is back. The short notice Kevin Holland is back. And it's good because I love watching Kevin Holland fight, but it's unfortunate because short notice step-ups haven't been great for him. This one should be different, though. He could have some success here. They are both strikers. Kevin Holland is an accurate and powerful striker who has struggled with takedown defense, but he's got very solid grappling if he is taken down. Other than the wrestling defense, Kevin's a problem for a lot of people. He's got great, accurate striking on his feet. Great range. He's fast as hell. He will move in and out of the pocket and make stuff happen. He can grapple, as I mentioned. He is a BJJ black belt on the ground, and he's so long he can tie you up and he can make stuff happen. He can be competitive with anybody, but he can have some issues with people who can take him down and hold him there. Just because it is easy to take him down, you're not necessarily safe. He's coming off that one-sided loss to a debuting Michael Venom Page, where he just, credit to Kevin Holland. He showed us how insanely tough he is, but Michael Page looked insane in that fight. He's taking on Michal Oleksiejczuk. That one was better. He's a very good striker. Fast hands, ton of pressure early. He does have power as well with 6 knockouts in his 7 UFC wins. While he is dangerous on the feet, he does have grappling holes and he can fade as fights go on. He's coming off of that very quick, just devastating loss to Michal a couple of months ago. And yet again, Kevin Holland is here on short notice. This time, he's back up at middleweight, 185 pounds, and he is taking on another striker. I love Kevin. I think we all love Kevin. Short notice step-ups haven't been the best thing for him in the past. This time, it is likely different. This is striker versus striker. And unlike his last opponent, Michal is a bit flat-footed. He's not the dynamic striker that Michael Venom Page is. Kevin should be able to piece him up. He should be able to snipe him at range. Michal will be dangerous early, probably have some success, but Kevin's got a great chin and will just get better as the fight goes on and as Michal fades. Kevin's going to be the pick. Maybe we are lucky enough to get a 1.5 round line so I can hammer the over. That is highly unlikely though, but they might look at Michal, how he just got finished so quickly, how he has 6 finishes in his 7 wins, and we might get a 1.5 round line. If we do get a 1.5 round line, I like the over because while Kevin Holland is very good and he does have finishes, sometimes he takes his time, right? He plays with the range, he does all that, and we might be able to get past that 7.5 minute fight point. Then we have Randy Brown taking on Elizeu Zaleski. They keep giving Randy Brown these old dudes, and fine, good for him. It's working for him. But Randy Brown's good. He's very good. He's a very good striker. He uses his range really well. He is stupid tall for this weight class, and he takes advantage of that. He's got long jabs, kicks to keep you at bay, and when he's ready, he's going to use his speed to initiate boxing exchanges. He's got 9 takedowns in the UFC, and while he does not go to them often, he's got nice trips. He'll use solid jiu-jitsu when he gets to the mat. He is very good. He's a ton of fun to watch, and he's coming off that first-round knockout win over an aging Muslim Salikov. He's taking on Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. I cut off half the last name because it just was not going to fit on this graphic. He's a solid striker. He's got very real power and some real athleticism as well. He can be dangerous on the ground. He's got very busy, active striking style where he's just constantly moving. He has real power. He is very athletic. He's got good cardio, and he's a very dangerous guy all around. He's coming off that draw with Rinat Fakhretdinov where he was dropped early, survived, and then had that incredible 3rd round rally to lock in a 10-8 and force a draw. My instant gut reaction when I saw this on paper was, oh, Randy wins, Zaleski's old. But then just a couple seconds of tape study later, and you're reminded of how nasty Zaleski is. He only has 2 losses in the last 9 years, and one of them was a bad decision to Muslim Salikov. I do think Randy's probably going to sneak out a win here. He should have the power. He certainly has the better striking technique, but Zaleski is a gamer, and he can gut his way through some trouble, as we just saw. Randy's going to be the pick, but Zaleski's giving me Diego Fajeda vibes from a couple of weeks ago with his durability, with his forward pressure. And Randy Brown, while he is good, he's not like a killer, if that makes sense. He's not a guy that just like, I'm going to come forward, I'm going to rip your head. Zaleski can be that guy. This is a fun fight. I am looking forward to it, but instant gut reaction was Randy Brown, high confidence. Should he be in the safety parlay? Let me back off this. I do think Randy wins, but now we are at low confidence, and that has nothing to do with him and everything to do with how good Zaleski is and what Zaleski's been able to do inside that octagon. And very quickly, it's like, damn, Zaleski is good. This is a great fight. I'm looking forward to it. Speaking of great fight, this is a spectacular fight. This is the featured fight of the night. That's what they call the 3rd fight, the featured fight, then co-main, and then main. In the featured fight of the night, we got Jailton Almeida taking on Alexandr Romanov. Battle of the big boy grapplers. Jailton Almeida is a savage. He hasn't really looked human in the UFC outside of his last fight for 20 seconds. Other than that 1 20-second span where he was just hanging onto a leg for no reason whatsoever, he has not looked human. He is running through people. He does have decent hands. He has incredible grappling. Almost all of his wins are stoppage. Actually, every single one of his wins is a stoppage, except one. He's got nonstop pressure. He'll come in hot, relentlessly work for takedowns. Once it's on the ground, he'll chase submissions. He'll hit you in the transitions. He has only ever been to that one decision, and that was a very dominant showcase. He is coming off of that TKO loss to Curtis Blaydes. If you didn't watch the fight, this was not on the feet. Do not think he got knocked out on his feet. He took down Curtis Blaydes 9 times in basically one round. And then in a second round, he shot a takedown, was hanging onto a leg, and Curtis Blaydes was just banging him in the side of the head. And for some reason, Jailton Almeida just did not let go. He just held it there and just ate shot after shot after shot after shot and just let his face get bashed in, and then ultimately he got stopped. And that was for the people who may not have watched the fight. If you watched the fight, you remember it vividly because it made no sense. If you didn't watch the fight, I don't want you to look at Tapology and see TKO loss and assume this dude was standing and got blasted. That is not what happened. He's taking on Alexandr Romanov. The 2022 version of Alexandr Romanov and the 2024 version of Alexandr Romanov are not the same person. The 2022 version is a fantastic high-caliber wrestler. He was a massive human being with incredible speed and power, and he used all that to take you down. He would charge forward. He's got crazy power, great athleticism for his size. He would charge forward like a moving freight train, take you down, and then work on you for there. For years, Alexandr Romanov was like, damn, dude, this dude is good, and how far will he go? And then he lost a close decision to Marcin Tybura at elevation because he gassed. And then he got fat as shit. He got fat after that. He lost to Volkov, where he literally landed 0 punches whatsoever, missed 5 sloppy-ass takedowns, and just fat. Like, he's just fat. His last fight, he did get back on track, a win over the now-cut Blagoy Ivanov, but even in that fight, he didn't look great. Alexandr Romanov is a guy that every single time he fights, there are pictures floating around of like what he's going to look like at weigh-ins. And it's typically like, look at this slob loser. Fat Romanov bet against him. Or sometimes it's like, uh-oh, he's jacked. He's in great shape. He's going to win this fight. I don't think it matters. He could show up looking like Brock Lesnar. He could show up looking like Roy Nelson. And if you're an old school UFC fan, that reference was great. He could show up looking like either one of those guys, and it will not matter. Jailton Almeida is going to come forward, get as many takedowns as he wants, and he's going to run through Alexandr Romanov. He just did it to Curtis Blaydes. He just did it. He froze up, he got hit on the side of the head, but he ran through Curtis Blaydes. I think we can all agree. Even the people who picked and bet on Curtis Blaydes and said Jailton's a fraud can all agree that Jailton Almeida ran through that guy up until he held onto a leg for a little too long. I think that's what happens here. We know for a fact Romanov gasses. Striking's not great. I think Jailton Almeida blasts right through him, gets whatever takedowns he wants to get, makes it look easy. I'm also a giant Jailton Almeida fan, but I've been a Alexandr Romanov supporter in the past. A couple of those performances, all fat and sloppy. Like, you just can't trust the guy. And then a spectacular co-main event of the evening. We have Sean Strickland taking on a now very active Paulo Costa. This is an awesome co-main event. A straight up awesome co-main event. Both of these guys are willing to fight. They both move forward. One of them is fast and athletic. The other one's just meat and potatoes, but will literally march forward. I am looking forward to this fight very, very much. This is a good pay-per-view. Objectively. This is better than UFC 301 was. This is a good pay-per-view. We got Sean Strickland, a blue-collar striker. He's got some of the most controversial, emotional swings that you will see. He's on Twitter calling everybody, you soft, you guys are pussies. And then he goes on Theo Vaughn's podcast crying, I was abused as a child. Guys, leave me alone. I was abused. And that's fine. I'm not making fun of him for that. But be one of these. Be one of them. Either be like the open book guy and that's a little bit emotional and cries a little bit, or be like the overly aggressive, everybody's a pussy, these kids are, you're all crying. But you can be one. You can't be both. You can't be making fun of people and then crying. You can't do both of those things. That was a random rant that has nothing to do with this fight. But while he is mentally unstable outside of the octagon and on the Twitter, he is not inside of the octagon. Inside the octagon, he is very put together. Style-wise, he walks forward. He throws a ton of punches. He's not particularly powerful, although he did drop Izzy, but he's not particularly fast either. He does have volume, though, at almost 6 significant strikes landed per minute. He has a fantastic 77% takedown defense. He is a durable guy. He's got that meat and potatoes game plan. Move forward, land the strikes. Move forward, land the strikes. He is coming off that very close title loss to Dricus du Plessis, where he landed more strikes, but he was taken down 6 times. He's taken on Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa is massive. I know these stats say that they're the same height, and maybe they are the same height, but standing next to each other, Paulo Costa is a much larger person. He is massive for middleweight. And what's shocking is being that big, he's got cardio as well. He's got power. He's got a ton of output at 6.2 significant strikes landed per minute, and he has cardio. He can continue to work and not get tired. He has more canceled fights than actual fights in the last 3 years of a ratio of 5-2, but he does seem healthy. He seems ready to go, and this is a very quick turnaround for him. He's always a ton of fun to watch with his forward pressure, heavy, fast punches, and relentless plays. On average, he's landing more than 6 significant strikes per minute, as I mentioned, and that is double most of the division. He also has very good takedown defense at 80%. He is coming off that loss to Robert Whittaker, though, where he almost finished Robert late in the first round. If there was another 20 seconds in that round, he might have finished him. Sean is a 2-1 favorite right now. That seems a little bit wide. He's the less dangerous of the two, and he is typically a very durable guy, but we watched him get slept by Alex Pereira. If this was a 5-round fight, then absolutely the 2-1 odds make all the sense in the world, right? He can pick up the pace, and then Paulo will eventually fade, right? When I say he's got good cardio, he does have good cardio, but he will slow down a little bit. And as we know, Sean Strickland doesn't slow down at all. He can fight the way he fights for 3.5 hours. This is going to be a fun striking match. We got the Philly shell boxer versus the powerful kickboxer. Paulo uses his athleticism. And if he uses it in this fight and he works in those non-traditional strikes like he did with that spinning back kick against Robert Whittaker, he might have some success here. If he keeps it weird and wild, he might have success here. That's how Dricus beat him. And I know that was controversial. But Dricus got in his face, had him guessing, would shoot a takedown, would throw strike. Like, if Paulo does that, gets in Sean's face, backs Sean up, and makes it ugly, Paulo can win this fight. But if he lets Sean just move forward and dictate all of it, then Sean is going to do what Sean does, which is just rack up the volume, have you backing up, and then just win a fight where this is here, and it's just marching forward. I think Sean is going to be able to do that. I love Paulo Costa. I don't think he's going to be wild. I think he's going to do a couple of fun things early, spin a few times, they won't land, and then Sean will just keep marching forward. I think that's what happens here. I don't know if I'm going to bet on this fight, though, because I think I'm going to end up rooting for Paulo Costa. I don't know why. I do like Sean Strickland in the octagon, so I don't know why, but I feel like I'll be rooting for Paulo Costa. I think what it is I don't want him to have the 2 losses in a row like that, because I want him to be relevant. And you lose a bunch of fights, all of a sudden nobody cares anymore. So I want him to win. I want him to be relevant. But either way, this is a great co-main event, and I am looking forward to it. I do think Sean Strickland is going to pull it off, but I also think these odds are a little wide. And then we have the main event of the evening. We have Dustin Poirier with, I believe, his second crack at the official world title. It's his third crack. It's his third crack at the official world title. Yes, it's the third. Look at Angelo with the realizing right here live, because he lost to, right? He lost to Charles Oliveira. He lost to Khabib. So this is his third. Maybe I'm wrong. We got Islam Makhachev defending his belt against Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier was not necessarily slated to be the next guy up, but his performance against Benoit Saint-Denis was so fun, so impressive. The UFC was like, throw Dustin in there. Throw Dustin in there. The people will love it. He's an exciting guy. He'll make it a fun fight. Just give it to Dustin. And I appreciate that they do that sometimes. Is Dustin the rightful number 1 contender? Should he be the guy getting the title shot right now? Probably not. No. And frankly, if Justin Gaethje beat Max Holloway, he'd probably be getting the title shot right now. But the division's a little bit weird, couple of key losses, couple of key wins. It's sort of all over the place. So here is Dustin Poirier with a pretty quick turnaround from a month and a half or 2 months ago, whatever it was, fighting Islam Makhachev for the belt. Islam Makhachev's a nasty wrestler. He's got very good hands as well. His grappling is aggressive. He's always looking to advance. He's always looking to punish or finish. And he doesn't just camp out looking for a decision. You might think he's boring because he does have a bunch of decisions, but he's always working. He averages more than 3 takedowns per fight, and you might think that's low, right? We talked about a few other fighters with 6, and Jailton Almeida had 9 in his last fight. Islam Makhachev averages 3 per fight because when he takes you down, you don't get back up. There's not an opportunity to be taken down again. He takes you down, and you're kind of stuck there for the rest of the round. He keeps you on the ground. He racks up control, but he does still work for a finish. He's coming off that second win over Alexandr Volkanovski where, unfortunately for Alex, he knocked him out, and I think that just scrambled him, and Alex got knocked out again after that against Ilia Topuria. I think Islam sort of kicked off that whole decline of Alexandr Volkanovski. He's taking on Dustin Poirier. This guy has cemented his legacy. It's already done. Dustin Poirier can lose every fight from here on out, and his legacy will be an exciting guy who is at the top of the food chain for a very long time. He's an excellent boxer when he's not jumping guillotine. He's a well-rounded, excellent boxer with high fight IQ and a BJJ black belt. His striking is very clean, where he'll keep distance and then he'll step in with that long jab. You could argue he changed MMA. I say this every time. You could argue he's changed MMA with the low kicks against Conor McGregor. And people every time, yeah, Jim Miller used the leg. I get other people were calf kicking before Dustin Poirier, but Dustin Poirier did it on the biggest stage against the biggest name in this sport, and he beat him with it. And you could see from that point forward, everybody started the calf kicks. So he did change the sport. I was about to do a Seinfeld reference, but most of you wouldn't get it, so I didn't. I backed off. You're welcome. He is coming off of that come-from-behind win over Benoit Saint-Denis, where he was dominated early. Dustin Poirier got dominated early. But then he rallied and landed that massive fight-ending right hook. I imagine most people are going to be rooting for Dustin Poirier here. And of course, like, why wouldn't you be? He's a likable guy. He just happens to be wildly exciting. But styles make fights. And as long as Islam sticks to the wrestling, he's going to dominate this fight. Benoit Saint-Denis essentially ragdolled Dustin early. And if you believe Benoit, the only reason he faded and ended up getting finished in the second was because he had a staph infection. Islam has different levels of cardio, different levels of determination. His striking has improved, and the wrestling will get it done. Islam's going to be the pick here. But if there is an MMA god, so up, down, left, right, he will bless us with a Dustin Poirier jumping guillotine to win this fight in the 5th round. That would be an all-time moment. That would be this pay-per-view's Max Holloway knocking out Justin Gaethje. That will be that. I doubt that's what's going to happen, but if it did, what a night. Guys, that is the breakdown. And I am going to ask you to become a premium member. But before that, I want to give you $50. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Use the link, sign up, make a deposit. We'll send you the 50 smackaroos. You can use those 50 doll hairs and become a premium member. Premium membership's only 10, so you'll still have 40. Premium membership is going to unlock everything you have ever needed heading into a fight week, and you'll get it for 4 weeks because it's an entire month for only $10. You're going to get tools, picks, bets, round line leans, insight, and more. One of those tools is the line movement tracker. You're going to get the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every fighter on every card. You're also going to get the detailed data, metrics, and analytics. 38 columns of information. All of this information is publicly available, but if you were going to take the time and you were going to put this together and you were going to look this up, it would take you hours. Hours. This is only $10 an entire month. For $2.50 a week, you have access to 38 columns of detailed data, metrics, and analytics. You also have access to the DraftKings Optimizer that is preloaded with the best DraftKings ownership projections in the game. And then you also have access to more than just me, more than Jakey Boy Artem, who I'm almost positive either picked the perfect card or was close to picking a perfect card for Bellator this past week. He's breaking down UFC, the regional cards as well. And you're going to get access to Pick GPT. That is an artificial intelligence that's picking fights based solely off of historical data. Everything I just mentioned, all the things I didn't mention, only $10 a month. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Good luck, guys. I am looking forward to this card See you in a bit. See you in a bit. What a dumb way to end this video. See you in a bit.